our first webinar on keys to buying a home in Durham, North Carolina. We're talking not just about Durham, we're talking about Durham and the surrounding areas, Chapel Hill, Hillsborough, a little bit of Apex maybe. And later on, we may do another one if you're interested in buying in Raleigh or Cary or Morrisville or places like that. We are perfectly capable. All three of us are perfectly capable of helping you with that. We're just not talking about that today. I'm not talking specifically about that today, but we are talking about some general things. All right. So let's bring up the presentation. First of all, I want to introduce my cohorts here. Sherry Riano is going to be talking about mortgage rates. Everybody loves to talk about mortgage rates, and there's action, there's news. There's news just from yesterday. And Beth is here, Beth Alderson from Ownify. Ownify is something you probably never heard of, but I think you're going to love. It is a fantastic alternative to gaining equity in a home as opposed to renting. And so you're going to want to stick around for that. We're going to plan for this to be under 30 minutes, hopefully well under 30 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. And we're going to start now talking about the market. So Bianca, can you bring that presentation up for me? Okay. Now, how do I, there we go. All right. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so I'm on slide 4 already. I did not mean to be on slide 4. All right, so welcome everybody. I already introduced the guest speakers. Let's talk about what we're talking about today. Talk a little bit about the market, just what the market is like today. I think you'll be, there's really, really interesting information here because the last couple of years have been very, very difficult for buyers. And it's turned around just a little bit. What areas of Durham, Hillsborough, Chapel Hill should you consider? We'll talk about that a little bit. Should you rent instead of buy? We're going to be pretty honest about this. There are some benefits to renting that you might want to consider, and we're not going to try to talk you out of that. What is the process like of buying a home in North Carolina? Then we're going to move on to financing and alternative home ownership opportunities through Ownify. So first, let's talk a little bit about who I am, who we are. My company is Spotlight Realty. I've been in this business about 13 years now. We are Ownify certified, of course. We are best of Zillow, which means we have a 5-star rating on Zillow and very, very high customer satisfaction. I've been named best of Durham 3 times, and my company also has been named best of Durham twice. And I'm an ELP, Dave Ramsey endorsed local. For those of you know what that is, that'll be meaningful to you. Everybody else, maybe it won't be so much, but it just means that that I'm one of the preferred agents of the Dave Ramsey program. So the market today, let's talk about that. It is, no question, it is better for buyers today. You should be glad if you're buying a home in 2023, early 2023 compared to 2022. But scarcity is still a problem. Here's what's happening briefly. Mortgage rates have climbed so much since the middle of 2022, actually, that not only is it more difficult to buy a home, not only does it put downward pressure on prices, the perverse thing about it is that downward pressure on prices is sort of modified a little bit by the fact that nobody can afford to move. If you're in a home and you're sitting on a 2.5% mortgage, and many people are 2.5%, 3%, 4%, whatever, it is very hard to motivate yourself to go out and buy another home. Now, if nobody's leaving their current home and buying another home, that means there aren't that many homes on the market. And despite the fact that there's downward pressure on prices from interest rates, there's upward pressure on prices because of scarcity. And let's look at a little data where that's concerned. All right. So this is the median sales price in the entire MLS. This is all throughout the triangle. So it's not just Durham, but Durham looks just like this. Prices climbed. I mean, early 2021, we're hovering right around 300,000. And it climbed and climbed and climbed until July of 2022. It hit almost 425,000 as a median. And that, my friends, is a very, very high, that's a steep climb, right? From 2021 to mid-2022, chaos was reigning in the market at that point. People were offering $100,000 over asking price with a $100,000 non-refundable due diligence fee. And we ended here in 2022 with the Fed starting to crank up interest rates a little bit and then a lot. So you can see that now we're back down and it's flattened out here. January was down in the 385 range, and February is very flat. I have some anecdotal evidence to suggest that that's gone up again since then. I can't confirm that yet, but I think we'll see that I'm right. Every spring, past results do not guarantee, past performance does not guarantee future results, but I'm going to say in the 13 years I've been in this business, every spring prices go up from a little bit to a lot. You can see back in 2021, it was a lot. In 2022, it was a lot. In 2023, it may just be a little bit. I don't know, but I've never been in an industry, in this business. There's never been a year in this business that I've known it where that has gone down. So, but if you look at this between 2022 and 2023, that, my friends, is the definition of a bubble. And the government popped it by raising interest rates. And so it has gone down to 385. However, it's notable that really just got us even back to where we were in early 2022. It is still actually up 3.1% since 2022, even though it is down substantially since mid 2022. Since February, March 2022, it is still up. All right. So just so you know, there is some relief for buyers. The bubble has definitely popped, but I think we can look for prices to go back up again, at least a little bit in spring of 2023. So this is all because of inventory. As I expressed, scarcity is still the thing, with people not wanting to move out of their homes and take higher interest rates as a result. This is conventional wisdom, and I think it's true, that a seller's market is when inventory is, and I'll explain what inventory is less than 6 months. That means there are enough homes on the market, and the rate in which they're selling, every home on the market should sell every home within 6 months. That is a seller's market if it's under 6 months. If it's between 6 and 7 months, that's sort of a balanced market or a neutral market. Home prices don't really appreciate that much. They appreciate only because of inflation. Insurance goes up or other expenses, home expenses go up, so home prices go up as well. Then when it's greater than 7 months, and it's been a really, really long time since we've had a market in which there's more than 7 months worth of inventory in the market in the Triangle or in Durham. In those cases, home prices may depreciate. I've seen some outlying areas of Durham in the early 2010s where home prices did depreciate pretty significantly. Many areas held on and stayed flat, but that was definitely a buyer's market. A home came on the market at $200,000, for example. You can expect it to sell for $170,000, $175,000 sometimes, and maybe worse. This was not the case in the last few years of a seller's market, where if a home came on the market at $200,000, it might sell for $250,000. So that's what this looks like. This is how it's changed over the course of the last few years. So you can see, remember, let's go back a second here. Anything less than 6 months is still a seller's market. Well, it never got any higher in the last few years, never got any higher than 2 to 2.25 months. And then it slid. I think we all know what happened right here in 2020. Things slid considerably, and inventory sold and sold and sold and sold until our inventory actually reached a very, very low level. We had about 2 weeks of inventory left in 2022. Well, then prices started to climb even further, and then interest rates started to climb, and we were down. We're all the way up over 2 months of inventory again. Now, mind you, again, that is still a seller's market. It provided some relief for buyers, but it was still a seller's market. Now look at what's happened late 2022, early 2023. It looks like people have gotten accustomed to high interest rates, which will happen. Remember, historic interest rates, 5, 7, 8% is not that big of a deal historically. That is just pretty normal. So people start buying again. And lo and behold, inventory starts to slide in late 2022, early 2023. That is not great news for buyers, because that means there's scarcity. Scarcity not only gives you fewer choices, it also starts to put upward pressure on prices again. Good news if you're buying, because that means potentially your home is going to appreciate after you buy it. This is a survey of economists and people who do analysts in the home industry. 100 of them they forecast this every quarter, and you can see that they do a 5-year forecast. 2023, this was the end of 2022. They said that prices were going to slide by 1.61%. Now, this is nationally. This is not in the triangle. You can see in the triangle, prices did slide, but they're really starting to flatten out. And this 1.161% slide has probably already happened. I don't expect, and that's from December to December. So I think that's really already happened, and we're probably going to flatten out or even rise a little bit for the rest of the year. And as you can see, they're predicting 2024 1.9%, 2025 3 and 4.5. We're getting performance here for home prices. Now, this means that if you put, say, 5% down on a $200,000 or $300,000 house in 2024, and it goes up 3%, then 4%, then 4%, that's probably like 15% appreciation on a $300,000 house. What is that? That is $45,000. So you put $10,000 into a home here, $15,000 into a home here, and you've tripled your money within 3 years. And that's really, really good, solid appreciation. I am not promising that that's going to happen. So let me just make that very, very clear that this is other people's estimated home price performance, not mine. I do happen to agree with it, but I'm not making any promises here. Nobody knows the future. This is just a forecast. So the conclusion is it's still a great time to buy a home. I mean, it was a great time to buy a home. If you bought a home in early 2022, which you might look at the numbers that we've just seen and say, boy, that was a terrible time to buy a home. Well, home prices are still up over that course of time. And yeah, they're not up as much as they were in July of 2022, but they're still up. And the situation is getting even better in the future, according to this analysis. All right, but should you rent? The answer to that question is a big maybe. There are some upsides and downsides to renting. This is a chart of rent historically over the past several years. And it ends in 2020, and it's gone up again since then. And probably, it has that same trajectory that you're seeing here. And this is what you're dealing with if you're renting. This is, I would say this is the uncertainty you're dealing with. It's really not uncertainty. It is absolutely certain that rents are going to rise. And so if you buy a house, keep it 3 years, you'll be paying more in 3 years than you are today. Just count on that. It might be better to buy in that case, because buying does help you escape that cycle of rising rents. As we saw in the earlier chart, rents have risen considerably. 73% of property managers intend to raise rents again over the next 2 years, even more, even though they're sky high now. And a normal mortgage has a principal and interest payment that is locked for as much as 30 years. So, you reduce your risk, your upward risk of paying. You're not going to be paying much more. You'll be paying maybe more in property taxes and maybe more in insurance, but your principal and interest is not going anywhere unless you've got it. Sherry, maybe she wants to talk about this, but unless you get an adjustable rate loan. Okay. Second point is homeownership is a really powerful wealth building tool. As I pointed out just a minute ago, you gain equity, and sometimes a lot of equity as a property appreciates. Even if it appreciates only 3, 4, 5%, the fact that you only put 5, 10, 15, 20% down means that your equity is growing considerably more than 3 or 4 or 5%, double or triple. The last thing is owning a home is considered to be a hedge against inflation. Inflation causes rents to rise, but does not cause mortgages to rise. It does cause insurance rates to rise sometimes, but that's a pittance compared to how much rents can rise. However, needs to be said. Renting versus buying is really more than about just affordability. Sometimes people will rent because they need the greater flexibility. You sign a 1-year lease, you're out of it in a year, and you can move on to the next town if that's what you want to do. So you have to think long and hard about how long you're going to be in one place. Typically, with prices and things the way they are right now, if you're in a place 2 to 3 years, let's say in the triangle, 2 to 3 years, you're better off buying than renting, financially speaking. And you have to question, what else do you value? Maybe you want to spend your money not on a home. Maybe you want to, live in your parents' basement or rent somewhere. But there are other things to value other than wealth building. And it's no problem if that's you. Then maybe renting is a better thing for you. Now the question is, where should you buy? Let's compare prices around Durham a little bit. So again, we're focused on Durham. Just to give you the lay of the land a little bit between Durham, Chapel Hill, and other areas. Chapel Hill has amazing schools. It's a pretty small town. I think it's a population of 40 or 50,000, which doubles or grows by 50% when students come to town, because it's home of an enormous university, as you all probably know. Durham is a much larger town. I think they just passed 325,000 in population. Home to Duke University, a lot of fantastic restaurants and a good music scene. And so lots, a very fun town to live. I've lived here for the last 28 years. And I think Durham is a wonderful place to live and to raise a family. Raised 3 kids here. But just to give you some further insight, 27705 is the area immediately around Duke University. And you can see that area has always been the highest priced area in Durham. It's a great place to live, very convenient. Duke Forest is in that area, Duke University, of course, and Old West Durham and places like that. Really wonderful. 27712 and 27713, 277 are pretty similar areas, but on the opposite sides of town. 27712 is far north Durham, a little bit more rural. 27713 is really halfway between Durham and Chapel Hill, very convenient to both. Near South Point Mall and I-40, very close to the airport and RTP. So a really nice place to live. You're very safe in 27713 from financial considerations, because you're within 5 miles of UNC, within 5 miles of Duke, and within 5 miles of RTP. And those are the 3 largest employment areas in Durham. So people are always going to want to live there because they want to be close to those 3 places. 27704 is sort of the bargain area. It is right around RTP, about halfway to Raleigh, and you see prices are substantially lower there than there are a lot of townhouses there, though, but they're substantially lower there than they are in the rest of Durham. So that's a good place to consider as well. It is a little bit of a haul if you need to get to, if you're working at Duke or going to school at Duke. That's a little bit of a haul to get to Duke from there, and even more of a haul to get to UNC, but it's still very convenient to RTP. So definitely an up and coming area to consider. So what's the process of buying a home in North Carolina? I have it here in 10 easy steps. You need to get pre-approved for a loan. Now that's if necessary. If you're buying cash, you can skip that step. Buying with cash, you skip that step, which makes it very convenient, makes your offer more compelling sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. You need to hire an agent. Then you start shopping for homes, and when you find a home that you like, you make an offer that gets accepted, which, by the way, is simply not as easy as it sounds. That is why you need a professional agent to make it happen for you. There are people who try to do it without an agent, even people who try to do it without a very good agent or a professional agent, and they get frustrated when they go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 offers that they make on homes, and none of them are accepted. Then you need to make a couple of deposits, a due diligence fee and an earnest money deposit. The due diligence fee is a very unique thing to North Carolina. So if you're coming from out of state, you need to understand that you're going to have to make a non-refundable deposit of somewhere between, let's say, $500 and $100,000. I'll explain why that's such a wide range. It's completely negotiable, and it has everything to do with how much competition you're facing. If you're not facing any competition at all, if you're the only person interested in that home, then you ought to make a very small offer on this non-refundable due diligence fee. However, if you're facing, I've had, in the last couple of years, I've had homes on the market that had 45 offers on it. And in that case, you really do need to show the seller that you're very home by making a non-refundable deposit. This just means that you're never going to back out. If you make a $20,000 deposit, $50,000, $100,000 deposit, that signals to the sellers that this transaction is going to go through. And if it doesn't, then they have that non-refundable deposit to take with them and move on to the next person. That's very high risk, but a good agent will help you understand that and to deal with that risk. Then there's an earnest money deposit. This is refundable, but only if you do things right. So the earnest money deposit is deposited with the closing attorney. And by the way, both of these deposits go toward the purchase price of the home. So it's essentially part of your down payment. If you finish your negotiations prior to the end of the due diligence period, then you back out, then you get your earnest money deposit back. If you miss that deadline, however, then you sacrifice your earnest money too if you back out. Next, you do your inspections. Home, pest, radon, others as needed. If the home inspection says that there's roof trouble or that there's foundation problems or anything like that, then you may need to get an expert and do additional inspections, but we'll help you with that. Then you get to do the fun part of negotiating repairs and concessions, going back to the seller saying, I know I offered you $400,000 for this home, but there are $10,000 worth of repairs. So I would like $10,000 back. You can get that either in cash as concessions at closing, or you can get it as a reduction in the price. Most people will want to take the cash so that they can actually do the repairs with it. Next, you have to, all this time, have kept the mortgage process moving. That's yours and Sherry's, or your lender's responsibility. You keep the mortgage process moving, make sure you get your insurance set up so that you're ready to close. Then you get your final mortgage approval, close, and you move in, and that's a lot of fun, and everybody is hugging and celebrating and having a good time. So that's my part. That is how to buy a home in the Triangle. And you know how to reach me. If you need me there, you can contact me through however you're watching this. If you're watching on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, there'll be ways to reach me if you have any further questions. But now let's go to Sherry Riano.
Thanks, Bill. Well, it is a great time to buy, and I'm bringing to your attention a new program that's been updated through the North Carolina Housing Authority. It is one of the nicest programs because it allows you to receive, whether you're a first-time home buyer or you're moving up or moving to the same maybe type of house but in a different neighborhood, it allows you to get a credit up to $15,000 toward closing cost or down payment. So it's a really phenomenal product, and I'm so excited to be talking about it because it really does help people obtain home ownership. A lot of times people don't think that they can buy a home unless they put 20% down, and that's not the case. And in this particular situation, potentially you could probably have a minimal cost at closing, depending on the size home you bought and your specific situation. So, there are multitudes of loan products out there that can be utilized. We can go for as little as 3% down. There are USDA loans that are specific to certain areas, and they're 100% financing. There's also, different types of loans that we have available, and I'd love to, be able to maybe schedule a call with you and break down your situation and kind of show you multiple options. But there's a lot that can be done right now to purchase a home, and I believe it's a great time to buy a home. Appreciation shows the fact that it is a great time to get started on buying a home. If you bought right now, and I read this schedule a couple of days ago, even with rates being where they are today, in 7 years, if you bought a $450,000 house, you would be looking at having an appreciation of about $62,000 between the appreciation in the market and paying down your mortgage. And that's pretty valuable. And that is on the low side of appreciation. So it's just things to keep up with. Thank you. I wanted to talk to you guys about the do's and don'ts of the mortgage process. A lot of people get really confused, and it's a lot when you're going through the process. So let me kind of walk you through that. One is, when you get your mortgage application and you're completing it out, it is important to be very clear on your employment dates, be very clear where your down payment is coming from, source any large deposits that you may have. We are required, due to the Patriot Act, to document large deposits. And so we have to understand where they came from. So if you're thinking about getting ready to buy a home, source one savings account and maybe just have your down payment in that, so that you don't have to have a lot of questions about the coming and going of money. Because once we see money moving from one account to another, we have to start asking a bunch of questions, and sometimes it's frustrating. So I would ask you to think about, hey, if I'm about 2 months out, set up a savings account, put that down payment money in there and just let it sit. You'll be amazed. It'll give you so few problems if you do that. Again, back to employment, be very specific on the dates. I tell people a lot of times, you can treat me like your attorney, and you know you've murdered somebody. You can tell me where the weapon is, because if you tell me where it is, I can actually keep you from having any heartburn, or in this case, potentially having a turn down loan. So the do's and don'ts really quick is, don't go buy anything. Don't buy furniture. Don't buy appliances. Don't buy cars. Don't quit your job. If you need to transfer jobs, you need to consult your loan officer to see if it's the same type of job as far as compensation and how you're being compensated, to see if it's okay. Sometimes it is, but you want to make sure you speak with your loan officer. Those are the big things that you want to make sure that you're doing. That makes the process so much smoother, and it's pretty assured if you do all those things, then you will not have an issue at closing. Now, how to get in touch with us. You can call my team line. You can email my team email, or visit our website to apply. We make it very easy for you. I have 7 staff members that are here to serve you at any time. We work 8 to 8, 7 days a week. So know that if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us in any of these venues and have these questions answered. And if you can think of anything else, I'll be around to the end of the presentation. Feel free to hit me up on a chat.
Okay, thanks so much, Sherry. Next, we want to talk with Beth. Beth is with Ownify, and Ownify has an amazing program that y'all are going to want to hear about. Now, that's the one thing I could say about Ownify is, if you're considering renting, this beats the bejesus out of renting. So consider Ownify if that's your situation.
Yes, it does. It does. You said that well. It does beat the bejesus out of renting. Ownify is homeownership reimagined. It is on a mission to put more first-time home buyers in homes. It's to make your life easier. It is not a mortgage. We work with mortgage officers all the time. We work alongside them. We're not here to replace. Our mission is to help rebuild the path to homeownership. We realize now that this day and age, it's super hard for first-time home buyers to get in homes. You've got to save up the money. You've got to have the credit and the job and all the, check all the boxes. Well, with Ownify, it's a lot easier. You've got to have 2% down, and that buys you equity in your first home. On day one, that 2% is ownership that you have in that property, and that continues to grow over the next 5 years as you live in the property. It is a fantastic way to get your foot in the door and release some of the stress that people have when they buy homes for the first time. So let's talk for just a second. I'm going to keep this super short and sweet because it's a really hard topic. It's a new thing. It's hard to comprehend. I'm here to answer questions after, but let's just go over this really fast, how it compares. So if you look here at this little chart we've got Ownify, a mortgage, and renting. Ownify happens to check all the boxes. Now, with these super high appreciation rates, we understand that we're not going to be able to match that. We are not here for everyone. We are here for people who have the 2% down and they're ready to get one foot in the door and start building equity. They are able to have homeownership, treat it like their own. They are payment certain every month for the next 5 years. Their payment is not going to change. No matter what the interest rates do, no matter what happens, their interest rate stays the same. And at the end of 5 years, they have 10% equity in the home that they can use to flip to a traditional mortgage, or continue to stay in the home and build equity with Ownify, or cash out and walk away with that chunk of change and start somewhere fresh. So with Ownify, the neat thing is it takes all the stress and worry out of owning a home. We cover the taxes. We cover the homeowner insurance. We cover the repairs. If you move in and, oh my gosh, the roof needs to be repaired, guess what? Ownify is going to take care of that for you. There is no stress. So it's like renting, but at the same time as renting, you're building equity and building for your future. The criteria is super easy. It is a credit score of 680. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, and first-time home buyer. Our definition of first-time home buyer is you currently do not have a mortgage. So you could have paid off your mortgage on your past home a week ago. You're considered a first-time home buyer, and you're able to use Ownify and the program that we've built. It has to be a single-family home. We do not do townhomes or condos at this time. We will probably never do condos, but we're getting closer to doing townhomes. And the property has to be for sale and valued between $250,000 and $750,000 and located within the triangle, because Ownify has decided to launch this amazing new product right here in the triangle. And as time passes, we will expand to more areas and more states. So to wrap it up really fast, Ownify is building home equity and paying your occupancy payment, which includes your taxes, your repairs, your insurance, and everything in one monthly payment that does not change whatsoever. And if you look here, you can see the comparable payments as it goes with the mortgage and rent and Ownify, and it comes right along the same place, but you're still building equity. You're still, able to own your home, make changes, and like Bill said, it's way better than renting. Have more questions? There is my email. Feel free to reach out at any time. I am happy to answer anything I can. And Bill, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so we understand that a lot of these things, you may have questions, especially about Ownify, because it's so unusual, so remarkably innovative.
Yes.
So feel free to, you can put comments in on whatever stream you're watching on. We're going to have contact information all over the place. So Beth and Sherry and Bill Stevenson are available to answer all of your questions about buying and or ownifying a home in North Carolina, really anywhere in North Carolina, but particularly in Durham and the Triangle. So thanks so much for your time, everybody, and have a good day, evening, wherever it is, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thanks a lot.